So what do you think are the chances that this is the second time I'm recording this video? And what do you think are the chances that yesterday I had a doctor's appointment, nothing serious, just kind of a normal checkup, it's sort of a follow-up checkup at 10:20. And what do you think are the chances that by the time I actually spoke to the doctor, it was 1:30 p.m., which means, of course, that for the entire day, there was very little that I could have done because I was waiting for the phone to ring. And even after the doctor's appointment was done, by the time the follow-up appointment and everything got clarified and set up, we were practically looking at the middle of the afternoon. Mercury retrograde goes direct on the 22nd of June, and it would not surprise me at all if typical Mercury retrograde snafus are already abounding and will abound for the next 3, 4, 5 days till about June the 24th or 25th. Okay, and this has various implications. So first and foremost, logistically, bizarre occurrences. For example, the doctor's appointment was at 10:20. It was supposed to be an in-person appointment, but during Mercury retrograde, I received numerous voicemails saying that it had to be changed to a phone appointment. Then they said, you need to be close to your phone between 30 minutes before and 30 minutes after because the telephone calls could happen at any time. Well, 10:20 is the appointment. 8:40, my phone rings and the call is identified as potential spam, so I don't answer. There's no voicemail. I wait for the doctor's appointment. I then contact the hospital clinic, and of course I'm told that I've been marked as a no-show, so we have to reschedule the appointment. I hit the roof and ask for phone records, and I'm happy to submit mine. And of course we start to reschedule things, but because I can get that way, and we rescheduled and we started to do whatever needed to be done. Then of course I realized that they did call at 8:40, did not leave a message. But of course, what are the chances that Verizon would identify that call, a phone number that I dial often and that dials me often, as potential spam? But of course, they didn't call me 20 times as they claimed they did. But that was fun to dismantle. And irrespective, I had the doctor's appointment. And of course, the doctor informed me that he was now taking in-person appointments, to which, I almost, I seriously. But some part of me just knew that there was a level of innocence to this insofar as Mercury's retrograde, and we were all being pranked. So those kinds of, when it comes to your travel plans, use of technology, all that kind of stuff, I'm supposed to get some blood work done. Again, there's nothing to be concerned about, so just know that. It's just part of sort of annual checkups, really. That's what it's about. And I fasted the last time I did it, and I said, do I need to fast? And the doctor said, no, don't fast this time. And of course, when the next appointment needed to be set up in person, a voicemail was left to me because we started to leave voicemails, because otherwise Abby, will drink your blood. And in the voicemail, it was like, oh, we're going to have a phone appointment. So, by the time I start to become apoplectic, they call back and say, it's not a phone appointment, it's an in-person appointment. And then, of course, when I listen to the voicemail, they're just like, oh, and you need to fast. And then at that point in time, because it was now 3-something, I was like, okay, you are not going to take any action. Not until Mercury is direct. The appointment is not till, a month or a month and a half afterwards, and the blood work doesn't need to be done for another month. No more action until after the 24th of June. And of course, then everything will get sorted out, and it will be a lot less dramatic, and Mercury will just not be laughing at all of us. So when it comes to your travel plans, your technology, anything, just know that sort of the transactional side of Mercury and Mercury retrograde is going to be acting up, because it's the times when Mercury is going retrograde and direct that we feel this intensity the most. Because at least when the planet is either direct or in the middle of its retrograde, at least there's movement and there's motion. But when Mercury or any planet is changing from retrograde to direct, it's stationary, and so it just does not exercise a lot of flow. And there certainly wasn't a lot of flow yesterday. And I stubbornly, in the first video, I stumbled around so much that I just wanted to keep going. And of course, it was way too long for my iPhone, and I still had more to say. And the iPhone was like, no, we're done. And I was like, of course you're done. It's Mercury retrograde. I have to record the whole thing again, because whenever Mercury is retrograde, I have at least one instance when I have to re-record the videos. The second thing here that I need to tell you, and please, if you want more details on this or if this resonates, look at my video list. And a few weeks ago, I did a video on Mercury in Gemini, and then after that, I focused on the eclipses. And a lot of this next theme that I'm going to talk about was talked about a lot during that time. Remember that at the time of the lunar eclipse on May the 26th in Sagittarius, we had the eclipse square Jupiter in Pisces and Venus squaring Neptune. Venus in Gemini, Neptune in Pisces. Planets in Gemini have been consecutively Mars, Venus, Mercury 3 times, and that's what I'm going to come to, and then the solar eclipse on June the 11th have squared Neptune in Pisces over the past few weeks, is the way I'm going to describe it. Lunar eclipse May 26th, Venus squared Neptune. Solar eclipse on June the 10th, which is a theme that is going to be with us till the end of the year. Just deal with it that way. August the 11th is going to be the next important date around this, the week before and week after. As you know, the day of the solar eclipse, a retrograde Mercury, the sun, the moon, this new moon solar eclipse was squaring Neptune and Pisces. Jupiter's also come into Pisces. There's a Jupiter and Pisces video I've already done in my video list. So the themes here, of course, with these squares in Pisces to Neptune and Jupiter have to do with, as I've mentioned before, as much as I don't want to talk about it again, and as much as I didn't want to talk about it in the previous videos, we just couldn't ignore it. Deception, delusion, theft, gaslighting, how much you're deluding yourself, crises that go back to 2015, 2016, martyrdom, a sense of martyrdom, a sense of rolling over, a sense of giving up, something that you may not be entirely convinced that you need to, but you may not have the energy to deal with. The other thing is that during the time of the eclipses, which we all felt to some extent, at least based on my conversations with my clients and myself as well, Mars was in the sign of Cancer. And Mars does not do well in the sign of Cancer. Mars is our energy is our vitality, is our ability to tackle things, not only to go after our goals and execute, but also in terms of giving us a fighting spirit, so that if we need to clarify something or defend us against something, it's there to serve us. Our energy, our assertiveness, even our aggression. And in the sign of Cancer, it's really not happy, because Mars has a very direct yang energy. And the sign of Cancer, as I've described before, has this kind of shell over it, and it kind of likes to move sideways. It's not a direct, Mars rules Scorpio, another water sign, for example, and Scorpio just stings. You step on it and that happens. But with Cancer, it's the sign of Cancer is much more, even though it's a cardinal sign, it's much more, that. And Mars is like, what is up with this energy? Not happy. But Mars is now in Leo. Venus is in the sign of Cancer right now, but on the 27th, she moves into Leo. So Mercury goes direct on the 22nd. What I'm trying to say here, darlings, is that when it comes to crises from 2015, 2016, you may feel like you're ready to start taking some action and having some conversations and some communications, and you would be right. You might even feel like you absolutely have to take certain steps to engage in some sort of, I'll use the word combat. Let's just say conversation. I'll explain why in a second. You may feel like actions have to be taken to ensure that you're clear about what's going on and what's not, and where things are not happening in a way that they feel right to you, for you to either protect yourself or declare that you will be protecting yourself, or whatever that is. Defend, attack, defend, defend. Mercury retrograde in Gemini with the solar eclipse, as I said, you know, it has this energy of dealing with past issues and also clearing that energy to move forward. But there's also this element with Neptune around really figuring out whether these things that have been going on that have been murky, whether they're issues at all. What sort of issues are there? What is the real issue or issues? Is it a bee or a wasp that you're dealing with, or is it a grizzly? And you've been imagining a grizzly, but it's just a fly that needs to be let out of the room. That kind of like, what am I dealing with, and what is real, and what has been done and what has not been done? And are you trustworthy? Are you being honest? Are you not? What steps do I need to take? Blah, 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 blah. Certainly the idea of, during Mercury being retrograde, the idea of investigation, and indeed this investigative theme and this theme of dealing with these kinds of topics will remain to some extent for the rest of this year, okay? Because we had the solar eclipse in Gemini that was conjunct or retrograde Mercury, therefore dealing with past things, square Neptune, therefore dealing with, through communication, maybe even through writing and through contracts, through emails and through whatever, situations where there could have been a loss of some sort or cheating of some sort that you were really fundamentally not comfortable with. And with the planets the way they are right now, they're sort of demanding those things to be dealt with, looked at, investigated, fought, or resolved. Resolved, Avi. Let's use the word resolved. Resolution, not retribution. I'll try to be noble, and I suggest you do too. But resolution sometimes does mean that, you know, your tail's got to thump the floor. So some of us may be thumping our tails on the floor. Just like that. You have 3 or 4 days where you can still be in preparatory mode. Because I would certainly say anything that someone feels like they've done by the 22nd or even the 23rd or 24th is not going to hold. It's going to fall apart. It's either temporary, or it's going to have to be redone, or it's going to have to it does not have legs. If you have Mercury retrograde in your birth chart, man, the number of Mercury retrograde in the birth chart clients I have talked to over the past 3 weeks who are so decisive, when most of the time they're just doing these mental somersaults around what to do and what does this mean and where do I go, and process. And amazing just how clear, decisive, I'm doing this, I'm not doing this, this is what's going to happen, this is how, blah, 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 blah. Clear. On July the 1st, Mars opposes Saturn. On July the 6th, Venus opposes Saturn. Mars is in Leo, Saturn is in Aquarius. Venus enters Leo on the 27th of June. Saturn is in Aquarius. On July the 6th, Mercury squares Neptune for the 3rd time. From my perspective, between June the 24th, 25th, after the Capricorn full moon on the 24th, and July the 6th, Mercury's retrograde strikes again. Between June the 24th and July the 6th, you may well find that you have a window where you kind of have to go into, I have had enough of this, I'm going to seek some clarity, or else I'm going to, that you will be challenged to do so, because with the Mars opposite Saturn and Venus opposite Saturn energy, you're going to feel like if I don't, then it's going to feel like this is my opportunity to take action, but also you're going to feel a sense of consequence. You're going to feel like the time for investigation is technically over on the 22nd. The time for not signing or not putting something into place is over by the 22nd. I would say it's really over by till the 24th, because even after that, Mercury is way too stationary, moving too slowly for something to really have legs. After the 24th, 25th, Mercury direct is going to square Neptune for the 3rd time on July the 6th, on the same date when Venus, the planet of relationships and money, opposes Saturn, which is retrograde, so allows you to look at things and situations that could be binding to you one more time. I suggest the floodgates of action are now opening, and if you feel like the time for investigation is over, And you need to get in contact, and you need to determine whether you're dealing with a bee or a fly or a wasp or a grizzly. And you need to take appropriate action to get that beastie out of your living space or living quarters. Then the time, you would be right. You have 3 or 4 days now till about June the 24th where you can prepare. And then you will probably be required to go into action mode. I'm going to do separate videos on Mars and Venus opposing Saturn. I'm going to do a separate video on Jupiter going retrograde in Pisces that also is so fascinating in terms of its timing. But there's already a Jupiter and Pisces video I've done, but I'm going to do one more. The Capricorn full moon in a few days' time sort of operates almost on a different realm and is a welcome because it is a full moon in a sign that is very real, very grounded, very material. Money, career, real things are going to come to the forefront, and I think we're ready, although I have a feeling that they're going to affect a different part of our lives. But this part of our life that goes back perhaps to 2015-16, and that has this kind of murkiness in it, and that has some Geminian quality to it. Gemini, Pisces, Gemini, Pisces, Gemini, Pisces, Gemini, Pisces, Gemini, Pisces. Where does Gemini sit in your chart? What house does it occupy? Who are the people who sit in that part of the chart? And what in the part of the chart that Pisces occupies is at stake? You may need to go in there and put a spoke in the wheel and just be like, what's going on here? I would do it in the spirit of inquiry to start with, as opposed to the spirit of combat. Because, you know, you don't have to go in with a take no prisoners attitude. It might only make things worse. You have Venus and Mars in Leo especially, is giving you finally the energy to get productive and to become more vocal and be more direct. You know, and luckily it's Mars in Leo and not Mars in Aries or Mars in Scorpio, where it's gonna, you know, where it sort of enters ready to bitch slap people. You do have the energy now that is more yang, but you also have an energy that you can always start off with, I just want to, can we just, that doesn't start out with sort of a take no prisoners thing. It can be much more, whereas the investigation right now, it wouldn't be surprised, has kind of had this element of poker playing. Now the cards it can be a little bit more engaged. As I said, be careful of engaging too much prior to June the 24th. Certainly let the 22nd happen and let Mercury go direct until the 23rd. Okay, just as it is, things are going to escalate and they're going to become more heightened as we head to the full moon on the 24th because it's a full moon. Use the next 3 or 4 days to figure out what you're going to do and how you're going to go about it and bloody, bloody, blah. And then you can be in action mode. As I said, anything that anyone has tried to do over the past 3 weeks or try, you know, chances are may not have legs. And whether it has legs or not, you're going to have enough energy to declare your stance to it and say, I will play by these rules that I did not agree to, or I will not. And certainly as you head towards July the 1st and then July the 7th, you might find that you are very much in that space. July the 1st, Mars opposite Saturn is, we can't ignore that July the 1st date. You may also just be feeling like you've had it and you want to put some of these energies behind you and you want to engage, in which case, do so. As I said, do it in the spirit of inquiry, just so you can get real around what beastie you're dealing with. Are you going to get stung? Are you going to get mauled? Two very different things. And right now, as far as the astrology is concerned, you're being supported. You have solutions. So be prepared to be in action. Respect any urge you have around the urgency of being in action. Absolutely. And if at some point you need to call out the big guys, get your support behind you and go, this is what these so-and-sos have been doing. I swear to God, I'm done with Mercury. This is what these so-and-sos have been doing. And I am calling in the appropriate help and support to help me sort through this stuff, especially as I head towards July the 1st or July the 7th, then do so. But first, just see if that's what's needed. But be in communication and take action. Okay, if you feel the urge that you need to do something to get clear on things and perhaps to protect yourself, the time for retired investigation while Mercury was retrograde is now going to be over, and it will not surprise me if you're feeling the urge and if you're feeling the sense of urgency to go ahead and start to clarify things. One more thing. Would not surprise me if any of the parties involved in this kind of space, if someone shows up from your past, because Mercury is retrograde. Classic. Saturn is retrograde, Jupiter's going retrograde, Mars is going to oppose a retrograde Saturn, Venus is going to oppose a retrograde Saturn, Jupiter's retrograde in Pisces, Mercury is currently retrograde, and when Mercury especially is at its sort of intense retrograde direct time frame is when, you know, sort of the lost penny show. It's like, look who's, hello. Is that you at my doorstep? Mercury retrograde? How convenient. Can't make it up. Can't make it up. Can't make it up. But there could be an opportunity here. There could be an opportunity here to get clear on what is and is not going on and what the story is and what the situation is. One more thing I'm going to tell you, because the astrology is becoming increasingly interesting and increasingly dramatic, is that we have 2 full moons in the sign of Aquarius, which of course is where Saturn is. Coming up after the Capricorn full moon, we have full moon 1 in Aquarius, and then we have full moon 2 in Aquarius. And Aquarius is a very important sign this year. We have Saturn in Aquarius, and at the end of July, Jupiter is going to retrograde back into Aquarius. I'm going to talk about that in more detail in the second video, but this is for astrology aficionados. Mercury retrograde is over, people. The curtains are opening. Get out your diva gear. And your magnifying glass. And first, just actively now investigate what you think has been going on. But then be prepared to engage accordingly. And there might be a reason for you to do it as early as July the 1st, if not July the 7th, 6th. If you don't act by July the 6th, when Mercury conjuncts Neptune for the 3rd time, you may feel like you have to engage by then. Otherwise you're just gonna feel like, it's too late. What have I done? Why haven't I not acted? Why haven't I not asked the questions? Why have I not clarified? Why have I not? And this is a developing story for the rest of this year. Certainly August 11th, lunar eclipse in Taurus, November 19th, Gemini full moon, December 18th or 17th. So we're gonna be living in this space. But the time for some of the most concentrated action and investigation is actually coming up. So next 3 or 4 days, try to stay out of trouble. If people step on your toes and act stupid and confused and bizarre and absurd, chalk it up to Mercury pranking you and having a laugh at you while you lose your crap. Forgive loss of time, like I had to yesterday. The entire day practically was gone. And just use the next 3 or 4 days to gather your energy so that after that you can be in appropriately investigative and protective action to anything that feels murky, deceptive, confusing, and is sort of coming back from the past and needs to be resolved so you can move forward. Use the Leo energy that is present now in our charts and is going to be even more present after June the 27th to help yourself and help others get into a cleaner, more empowered, purer, nobler state. If you determine you need to take no prisoners over some issue, then I'm going to let you get the help you need in order to pursue that. If you found this useful, share it, subscribe to my YouTube channel, click on the bell icon next to the subscribe button so you're notified whenever I do new videos. My contact information, email address is in the description box. You can contact me there if you want a reading, or if you want me to make an easy-to-read version of your chart that tells you which sign is in which house and which planets are in which signs, and therefore in which house and what those houses stand for. It's clearer than that. If you email me, inquire about rates so I can get those to you so that you have that information before you make any decisions, and then you can move forward accordingly. More videos to follow. Jupiter retrograde, Venus and Mars opposing Saturn and getting conjunct in Leo, full moon in Capricorn. Guys, onward, okay? Let's clear out those friggin' cobwebs, whether they are imaginary in our minds or whether they are real. Because the astrology, with those two full moons in Aquarius, again, there is a demand for moving forward. That clap scared my cat. He's looking at me like, what is wrong with you? Okay, I will talk to you soon. I want to keep going because I want to talk about those transits, but we're going to leave those to other videos. Bye.